What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 38. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Havelack. Mark, how you doing today, man?
Dude, not too bad. Obviously, we kind of just recorded yesterday. Nothing really that new with me. I got a question for you, though. How are you, getting through these nights without hockey? Because, we are in September now. We're about, 3 weeks away from, legit preseason games. I'm going to be honest, I never watch preseason, and I think this year I'm going to watch preseason.
Yeah.
That's how, bored I am at this point. Do you have any show suggestions for me or anything like that? The thing is, it's I do not like starting new shows. I just don't get into it. But I'm getting to the point where I'm rewatching the same 4 shows all the time, and I'm starting to get a little bit bored. I'm really starting to watch Jays games a little bit more at night, and then when it's on the weekend, I'm forgetting it's the weekend and they play at 1:00 and it's 5 and the game's over, and I'm like, oh fuck me. But do you have any show suggestions for me, dude, that you've been kind of into this summer?
No, not so much this summer, because honestly, this summer I've been watching the Marvel movies. So I got.
Oh yeah, you said you were doing that. Yeah.
When I was on vacation, with all the travel, train time and all the time on the planes, I ended up finishing up to Avengers Endgame. So holy fuck, dude, hell of a series, man. First time watching them all. Loved it, dude. So I'd recommend watching those movies at some point if you haven't. The one show, though, that I would recommend watching is, have you seen Peaky Blinders at all, or no?
I've heard of it, but I have no idea what it's about. Never seen it.
It's with that Cillian Murphy guy, and it's basically about a British mob back in I think it's just after World War One. So it's 1920 maybe, somewhere around there. It's a year or two after World War One. It's about a British mob, and it's pretty sick. If you like kind of crime shows, mafia movies, stuff like that, you definitely like Peaky Blinders. It's a hell of a show.
Okay. Honestly, that sounds like something I'd probably be decently interested in. I've been watching I don't know if you've ever heard of BOS. It's a show about it's a cop in LA, and then he becomes a PI. Yeah, I'm kind of into that stuff, to be quite honest. So
yeah,
Peaky Blinders, okay.
Then. For sure watch that. I'm trying to think about it. I don't know, there's not really too many other shows or stuff that I've been watching. I've more been into movies, and then what I'm doing is European football's back. It just started up within the past couple of weeks, so I've been kind of watching that. It sucks though, because with the time change, it's all 9 a.m., 11 a.m. on Saturday.
So did you watch the Man U game when they lost to that fourth tier team or whatever?
So I wasn't watching that because I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'll just watch the Arsenal games mostly, and then if there's any pretty big or interesting like Premier games, which is the top league, I'll watch those. For that game, since it was it was Man United versus some fourth tier team, so I'm there's no point in watching this. Honestly, I didn't even know the game was being played. But then I saw.
Did you hear what the goalie said, dude?
No.
Did you see what the goalie of the winning team? They were like, "How do you feel about beating Man U?" And he's like, "To be honest, I feel so indifferent about it because I'm a huge Man U fan." But I didn't even know what was happening. It said they were eliminated, and my dad and I didn't know if they were eliminated already from the Premier League. I didn't really understand what was happening with that. I just knew it was kind of an embarrassing loss for them.
So the way it works for soccer, which is actually really cool, I wish they would do this for North American sports, is in each country you'll kind of have your tiers of leagues. So you'll have the EPL, you have the Championship, League One, League Two, right? And EPL is of course the top league. So to compare it to hockey, dude, it'd be like the NHL, the OHL, the ECHL, and the A. It'd be if the NHL, the AHL, the ECHL, and then the CHL all had their leagues, but then also played in games against each other in one big tournament almost.
But it counts for regular season too?
doesn't count for regular season, just like a completely separate
See
trophy,
that
right?
this is why I don't follow soccer. Like I actually
Yeah.
don't mind watching it sometimes, but like I can't follow it because I hate the whole like tournament in season, and then it's like, and then it's like, and then I also just don't like that it's like the first place team
Yeah.
wins, and it's like the season could be done like even before it is done kind of thing. But I mean, like I don't mind. Like I've actually kind of started to like soccer a little bit more over the past like year, but like I don't really follow it that deeply. I love watching like the international stuff though. Like I get pretty
International is
invested in
great.
that. My dad's born in Manchester, so like he was a Man City fan.
Yikes.
So he was kind of like laughing when they lost to when Man U lost to that like fourth tier
Well,
team a couple
well,
weeks ago. But
Man
and Man
U,
City's been pretty good recently. So
yeah. Man U though, they're almost like the Leafs of the NHL, where it's like a fair bit of history, but recently they just haven't been able to get things done, kind of turn things around. But yeah, for soccer, I mostly just watch like the Arsenal games, and then I'll watch Champions League games because Champions League is great because it's the best on best. But yeah, Man U losing to this team, dude, it'd be like if the Leafs lost to an OHL game in like the first game of the big tournament for all of the North American leagues. So it's like
jeez.
definitely,
Dude, so like the penalty, I saw too, like they won like 12-11 on penalties. Like that was like such a long shootout. Like, holy crap.
I know,
Like the winning goalie, I think I saw he only made like one or two saves. So I think they basically scored on like every shot.
that or just miss the net. I think that there might have been a couple
True,
misses,
true.
but yeah, it would definitely rough if you're a Man United fan. Let's get right into the stuff for today, though. We're doing another deep dives episode today. We're officially now halfway through on these deep dives. We got four more episodes, including this one, to go on the deep dives. So it's going to work perfect for the start of the NHL season. Let's take a look at our first team. After missing the playoffs last season, the Boston Bruins, they might have had to steal the draft, Mark, selecting James Hagens, pardon me, with the seventh overall pick. Mark, I love this pick, dude. I think we could be looking at it 5 years, 10 years down the road. And there is a scenario where you're talking about James Hagens potentially being the best player to come out of this draft class. Like, I'm not saying that's a for sure thing. I think Matthew Schaefer will have a better career, but like, there is a scenario where James Hagens is the best player in this draft class. For sure, maybe top three player in this draft class. Like, we were talking a year ago about the debate of Matthew Schaefer, James Hagen, who's going to go first overall. Hagens had a bit of a down year going to the NCAA level. But I think Boston, they got an absolute steal here with this pick. It's exactly what they need. A centerman that can go in there, put up a shit ton of points for them. How are you feeling about this pick, though, for Boston?
I think it's a great pick, and it was an absolute no brainer when they stepped up to the podium and he was there at seven. Remember on my mock, I had him going five to Nashville, but it wasn't even more that I felt like he was the fifth best player in the draft. I just felt that stylistically the fits with like Chicago and Utah at 3 and 4 didn't really make much sense because when I look at James Hagens, like I think he has a very similar playing style to Logan Cooley.
Yeah.
Like it's like I don't think Utah was really that interested in having two Logan Cooleys like on their team as like their 1 and 2 centers, right? So I think this is a no-brainer because also like we'll get into Boston's roster. Like they definitely lack a first-line center right now, anyways, and like I don't really think he's necessarily that far away from becoming like an NHL player. Like I'd say it's probably like at least one season in NCAA. It really depends how the season goes. He could be ready by the end of the season. Maybe it would take an extra season, like at worst, to be honest. But he's pretty close from being like an everyday NHLer, in my opinion. How close he would be to being like an actual like impact hitting his potential, I don't really know. Maybe it'll take 4 or 5 years down the line, but I think it's definitely worth the risk because I think he has one of the highest upsides in this draft, to be quite honest. I think he's probably going to be like at worst, like he's going to be a 2C, and like if not, probably a lower end 1C. I do wonder though, I think he will be forced to play center, but like I always wondered if like he'd be more suited for the wing because of his size. But I
Yeah.
just think with Boston, he's probably going to be more like forced to play center all the time. He's obviously really comfortable there. He's got high end skill. I think the way we just kind of looked at it this year is like you look at his overall season, like 37 points in 37 games in NCAA as like an 18-year-old is great, but like the last couple of years before, we had guys coming out that had like a lot better point producing years than James Higgins and Fantilli and Celebrini, and those guys went like really high, right? Like Fantilli, I think had 60 plus points. Celebrini, did he have, I think he had 65, but he was almost at like a goal a game as well, right?
Yeah.
So when you're comparing that, like it is a drop off, but it's still an impressive season. I think like he was kind of he was his best hockey last year was like during the middle stretch of the season. Like he didn't really start that great, then he kind of picked it up, and then near the end of in like the Frozen Four and like a little bit before that, like there was kind of moments that you were left like wanting a little bit more from him. And like he did play with great players, but like he still did drive play, right? So this is a no-brainer pick for Boston, dude. I think that he's gonna. My guess is he's going back to college this year, and there's a possibility that he's stepping into the lineup at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think he's going back to college without a doubt, I think, to start the year and then kind of see how he produces this year with his second year in the NCAA. But I for sure could see it where Boston at the end of the year is signing him and giving him some NHL time then. Looking at the rest of the draft, they had 2 second-round picks, third-round pick. William Moore, I like that pick a fair bit. You're getting another centerman there in the second round. How do you feel, though, about the rest of their draft?
Honestly, like I think their draft was pretty good for the most part. Like you talked about William Moore there in the second round. Like I know he had a pretty like underwhelming season last year, but I remember like we were talking about him like going into last year that he was probably going to be like a first round pick. Like he drops to the 50s. He's also another guy that's going to be at Boston College, like just going to be right in their backyard for them to kind of watch his development. But I wouldn't really expect him to be like close to the NHL that soon. You know what I mean? Like I think he'll probably spend 3, if not 4 years in college. Liam Pettersson, he's more of like a defensive defenseman. I didn't really know much about him until like after the draft. Honestly, I think it maybe is a little bit of a reach. He probably could have been like a more of like a mid-round pick. Cooper Simpson is like a really interesting prospect. He spent most of the season playing like high school hockey where like he put up literally almost like 3 points a game. And then he played for Tri-City at the end of the year, and he almost had 7 goals in 9 games. So I'm kind of curious to kind of see his development. I'm pretty sure he's playing for Youngstown next year, and then he's going off to college. I'm not really too familiar with their next pick, Vasek Blanar. He's just playing in Sweden. That's the only thing I really know about him. Cole Chandler played in the QMJHL last year, kind of more of like a depth piece, and if anything, I don't really know if I expect him to be like an NHLer in the future. And Kirill Yemelyanov, he's kind of more of like a two-way center, so if anything, more like expect him to be like a fourth liner, if anything. But I think their draft was like kind of fine. Like I mean, like obviously the biggest impact was at the beginning of the draft. So like, I guess you could say like they had a pretty good draft overall. And like, usually I don't really say that about Boston. Like they don't usually draft well, but like they usually also don't have as many picks. Like they were kind of selling at the deadline last year too, right? So they kind of more darts at the board this year.
Yeah, for me, looking at their draft that they had here, I think I'm gonna give them an A, which is crazy to say about the Boston Bruins because I think this might be the first time since the David Pastrnak draft that they would get an A on a draft class. But I'm going to give them an A just for the fact that you get James Higgins, which, like, as you mentioned, it was a can't miss pick. As soon as he fell to them, like, you knew they were going to select his name. And then the William Moore pick in the second round, I like a lot as well. So I'm going to give them an A rating here. Mark, what rating do you think they deserve?
I think they deserve an A as well. Like, I mean, like nothing about like kind of like, I guess I do like the William Moore pick quite a bit, but like nothing after that really is like snags or like a screams snag to me. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, we also got to factor in that the beginning of the draft means a lot more than the end of the draft as well. And was pretty impressed with their first 2 picks. So yeah, I'll give
Yeah.
them an A as well.
Taking a look at their lineup now over the offseason, for me personally, I think they've had a couple questionable moves here. This is a team that's kind of probably going to be wanting to get back into the playoffs after missing last year. Looking at their lineup, how do you kind of feel about their lineup going into the start of the season?
I'm really not too impressed with Boston's offseason
Yeah,
overall. I think they, like you said, they have a lot of questionable moves that they made this offseason in accordance to, like, honestly, like the players they acquired and the contracts that were given out at the same time for some of these guys. And it does kind of, in my opinion, block like at least a couple of young guys from potentially getting into the lineup. Like I do understand that they do want to get back into the playoffs, but there are like a few players on their team, or sorry, within their organization at least, that I feel it's almost like their last crack at like getting whether or not they are going to be like future Bruins or not, like in
yeah.
the NHL. And I think some of these, like a lot of them were like depth moves they made this off season, kind of block those young players from getting an opportunity. So I'm a little bit confused about their off season, and I don't really think it was very good at all. And I think that they utilized some of the cap space they had very stupidly. Again, the contracts just weren't as like significant as they were as the year before with like Zadorov and Lindholm.
For me, looking at their roster, the one that really probably makes the little amount of sense is the Tanner Jeannot signing. Boston, like you're signing him to a $3.4 million deal for 5 years. To me, it's just like, was that term really that necessary for Jeannot? Like, I don't have too much of a problem with the AAV with the cap going up, but the 5 years, dude, it really makes little sense to me. It's like there couldn't have been that many teams really fully in on the Tanner Jeannot sweepstakes, if you even want to call it that. And for whatever reason, Boston felt they needed to give him a 5 year deal. For me, that's a one signing I really don't like. But then, as you mentioned as well, some of these other ones, it's like it's taking away from giving some of these young guys opportunities, right? Like Fabian Lysell, this guy was a first round pick. He's 22 years old right now, right? So it's like you as you mentioned, it's getting to the point where he's got to crack the NHL roster, or else Boston has to kind of forget about having him in their future plans. So it's like it looks like he might not get an opportunity now. And then also I've heard recently too, apparently he might be on the trade block, and apparently Edmonton's kind of been looking into him a little bit, right? A guy like Fraser Minton, right? They get Fraser Minton back in that Brandon Carlo deal. I'm not saying Fraser Minton's NHL ready, but like now with what Boston did this offseason, like Fraser Minton's a guy now who it's like, okay, yeah, he's probably going to be in the AHL this year and not really get much of a look at the NHL level at all, right? Like to me, it's
Like
very
I would
confusing.
want to give him minutes, like to be
Yeah,
honest with you. And like to be honest, like those are two of the guys I was thinking. Like Fraser Minton, it's more like they acquired him, like they're not looking to move him. But another guy I was looking at is Georgi Merkulov, dude. Like they brought him over a couple years ago. He's like kind of a smaller guy that's like been like quote unquote like lighting up the AHL.
yeah.
Like
Point
he's
per
had
game
a
and
couple
stuff.
stints in the NHL, but like he's never really gotten a big opportunity. And I kind of think it's like he's 24 now. Like he's kind of got to get a shot. And then like another guy is they traded for last year in that Brazeau deal is Murat Husnudinov. Like he spent some time in Minnesota last year, then in Iowa, and then he had a stint at the end of the season with the Bruins after the deadline. And it's like, I don't even know if he's got a spot in the lineup right now. Like,
Yeah,
so like, it's just kind of confusing what they're doing, bringing in some of these guys. Like, I agree the Tanner Jeannot thing. Like, to be honest, I don't like the term or the dollar. Like, this guy had 13 points last year. Like, he's he's just kind of like a fourth line guy. Like it's like I know the cap's going up, but it's like I don't understand why you need to give him even more than $2 million and at most a 3-year deal. Like I don't understand why it got this far where it's you're giving out stupid term and money, and then some of the other guys, like these aren't like terrible contracts, but it's like Mikey Acimont you bring in and Sean Corrali, like you bring him back after he was in Columbus for a couple of years. Like those are two guys that are kind of blocking out like the Fraser Mintons or like Husnadinovs or like, and then it's like you trade for Victor Arvidsson, and it's like he's coming off a brutal year and he's basically a top 6 forward for you. Like I this roster just does not look very good to me. Like it's not appealing at all. Like their defense is pretty decent, to be quite honest with you. Like I don't mind their decor. And then if it's kind of like if Swayman can turn it around, like maybe they're going to be a team that doesn't score a lot of goals. Like David Pasternak's basically one of the only guys that score a lot of goals. And it's like, I might be on the minority about this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even like the Morgan Geekie contract. And I'll tell you why. He got $5.5 million for 6 years. He had 33 goals last year. Morgan Geekie's been in the NHL since 2020. Carolina, then he got picked up by Seattle in the expansion draft, and then he's been a Bruin for 2 years. So in 5 seasons, how many goals do you think Morgan Geekie has? He's played 333 games. He had 33 last year.
33 last year. I'm going to say he has, I'm going to say 60, 68.
72.
It's pretty close.
So he had 33 out of his 72 goals in his career last season, and he had 11 goals in his final 14 games of the season when David Pastrnak had legitimately 15 points in like the last 6 games of the year or whatever. So I'm just saying, like Morgan Geekie shot 22% last year. I'm not really convinced it's sustainable. I in my opinion, I'd be shocked if he's a 30 goal scorer again. Maybe with the cap going up, it won't look as bad as I'm talking about. But I just kind of think this is a career year for Morgan Geekie, and I don't think this is sustainable at all. Maybe it is playing with David Pastrnak. And I get you kind of got to re-sign some guys, but it's like I'm not even that fond on this contract, to be quite honest with you, because it's like half of his career goals came last season. Like he hasn't really impressed that much,
one
right?
Of the best
like
players in the NHL.
Right. So it's like I'm not saying it's a bad deal. It's just like I'm not really that fond on that either. So dude, I look at the rest of the team. It's like the one contract I don't mind was bridging Mason Lowry for 2 years. I think he kind of hasn't breaking out yet, and like I feel like probably on either side there was kind of no way they were going to come to terms on like a long-term deal. Just I don't think he's really gotten a massive opportunity. Like maybe he did a little bit more last year with Lindholm out, but it's like now I think he's going to be like a kind of bona fide playing top 4 minutes. Even like they traded for Yoki Haru at the deadline, and it's like they re-signed him to a 3x3, and it's like I don't understand that. It's like he's a number 6 defenseman who like can fill in on your second power play maybe, but like he was kind of just a first round pick who never really turned out to be anything, to be quite honest with you, and that's just not really a good way to utilize your money. Like, dude, they only have $2 million in cap space.
The other thing too with the Yoki Haru one is you got Jordan Harrison, and you also got Victor Soderstrom too, who it's like those guys are kind of wanting to try to break into the NHL, right? So it also, like as we mentioned for the forwards, you're kind of taking away from some of these young guys getting opportunity. Like you're doing the same thing here with this signing, right? Like the way I'm looking at it is Boston, with the roster they have right now, if Boston made the playoffs, I'd be pretty shocked. Like I think the only path for Boston to make the playoffs is if Jeremy Swayman wins the Vezina, and if David Pastrnak has like a Connor McDavid 140 point season.
Yeah, and they get good defense, and they're probably winning a lot of games with low scoring. Like, that would probably be the only way. And then they have some guys that potentially have like career years, like, you know what I mean? But yeah.
It's just like this team's going to be kind of stuck in the mushy middle where it's like maybe you're not quite good enough to get a top 5 pick. You're not going to be making the playoffs, but then you're also not really giving any young guys opportunity, and you just kind of have an aging out roster, right? It's like It's a very weird situation in Boston right now. Because the other thing too is like Swayman, he's got 7 years left on his deal, and then Paster's got 6 years left on his deal. So it's like you also can't be like overly uncompetitive where you get to the point where those two guys are getting frustrated and kind of want out. But I definitely think there's going to be some dark and gloomy days here ahead of the Boston Bruins.
I know too that I've seen that they're still like really exploring the trade market. And three guys I've seen that they are trying to get rid of is Zaka, Middlestat, and Corpusalo.
So, like, who are you going to have?
So apparently I also heard is that whole Middlestat COL trade. Like Boston apparently like really wasn't that interested in Middlestat at all. And like the trade was basically like a second round pick for Charlie Coyle. And then to take on Middlestat, they also got like Will Zellers, a prospect from
Yeah.
Colorado. So like they basically got Middlestat like for free kind of thing. Like they weren't even really that interested in taking him on anyway. So I'm kind of curious to see how that relationship goes moving forward. I'm surprised they want to move on from Zaka. Like I don't really necessarily think he's that great of a player, but it's like he's kind of like one of your only options for a top six player right now. And with Corpusalo, it's like I don't think you're moving that contract unless you're retaining. Like there's no way he's worth $3 million, even with the cap going up. I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
he's a straight backup goalie. Like there's nothing appealing about taking that contract on whatsoever. So. I don't know. Yeah, they're in a really tough spot, in my opinion. The only way I agree see them being successful is Swayman would have to be a Vezina candidate. Their defense would probably have to be like top three in the league, and Pasta would have to have a great year.
Yeah. Overall, I want to ask you what you're going to give their offseason grade.
Just for off, if I'm going just for off season with no draft, I'd probably give them a D minus.
I always see I'm giving them an F.
Okay.
I think they,
I mean,
they
yeah, it probably is like one of the worst, if anything. Like they probably could design. Yeah, I'll give them an F, but with the draft, I'll give them like a D.
see I was going to give them I
It's
was going
so
to give
hard because the
them like
draft is like an A, and like their
it's
off
it's too
season's like an
yeah.
F.
It's exact opposites. I
C
was
minus, C minus.
see that's where I was going. I was like one's an F, one's an A. Like
Yeah, it's the most
yeah,
confusing off season, dude.
I'm gonna give them a C minus as well. Definitely confusing, but at least they're getting some good prospects in there. Just
I guess
it's
the one good thing about them is like Lindholm is going to be healthy and like McAvoy will be healthy. So it's like I do have faith in their D. Like I just I think they're going to be in the mushy middle. Like I don't think they're going to be like absolutely terrible, but like I think that they're not going to be good either.
yeah. I'm all on board with that. Let's talk about a team now that's kind of really gone into full rebuild mode now. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they had 3 first-round picks in this year's draft and 6 picks throughout the first 3 rounds. How do you feel that they did, Mark, at the draft?
Yeah, dude, this draft is probably one we can spend a little bit of time on considering just like the volume of picks they had. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually really familiar with like a lot of their draft picks, and I think they got good value at points. But I will say that the way they handled the first round really confused me a lot. In accordance to like what was available at the time with them owning the 11th and 12th pick, and then kind of trading back, and then I think they made a second trade again. To move up after they traded back because they ended up having 11, 22, and 24 when they had 11 and 12. Ben Kindle, their first pick, I feel like I was higher on him than a lot of other people, but I'm still not convinced he should have went at 11. I just think him being just like a small centerman, like there probably is questions of whether he is going to be like a legit top six center or not in the future, or if like maybe he ends up being like a winger. And I just kind of think at like what was available at the time. Like the thing is with Pittsburgh and their prospect pool, it's like I don't look at their prospect pool and there's like an area where I'd want to like avoid because I already have too much of it. Right. Like
Yeah.
they have a couple like pretty decent prospects, right? Like with Koivunen and Rutger McGroarty and like Harrison Brunicky and Owen Pickering, but it's like they don't have an abundance of like one area, right? Maybe you could say goalies with like Blomqvist and now Seelovs and like they have Sergei Murashov as well. But still, if there was a top end goalie, I'd probably go for it at some point. But what I'm saying is it's like if I'm Pittsburgh at 11, like I want to go like best player available, like because I think that it doesn't really matter who you pick. Like I'm not looking at it and being like having the question like we did last episode with Seattle, where it's like, oh, do they need another center? Like you could have went if Pittsburgh went like Victor Eklund or like Jackson Smith or something like that. Like I would have had no problem with it, but like I just have a little bit of it's like if they're gonna trade back, it's like they should have traded back with this too. Like they probably could have gotten him closer to 20, in my opinion. So that kind of confused me a little bit taking Ben Kindle at 11. I don't mind the prospect though at all. Like I think he was for sure like a first round, probably top 20 pick, but it's like at 11, I think it's a little bit of a stretch considering like what was on the board as well. Bill Zonin, I mean, there's probably a couple other guys I would have preferred to take at the time, but I kind of had him around like 25, 26. So like, I don't really mind this that much. I just more mind it because I think if they kept 11 and 12, they could have got like legit. Like I think Victor Eklund could be a legit top 6 forward. And then we talked about Jackson Smith being a legit top 4 defenseman. Like I just think if you took those two, it's like, okay, you added 2 like really good quality prospects. But with Bill Zonin, it's like, I think Bill Zonin's going to be like a really good, like middle of the lineup, like energy player who's putting up like 40 points a season. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't mind the pick where it is, but I just don't like what they did with the picks. Their next pick, Will Horkoff. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like this pick at all. I don't think Will Horkoff should have been a first round pick. I think his like ceiling is like a third line center. And I think there was definitely players on the board at the time that they definitely could have taken over Horkoff. I think Horkoff is another player that kind of made a mistake with his development. Like he probably should have went to Saginaw in the O last year, but decided to go to the USNDP and then to Michigan. I think that's also Sean Horkoff's kid, the former Oiler. Peyton Kettles. I don't really like this pick that much at 39. He's like a straight defensive defenseman who like does not put up points. And I think there was a ton of better options on the table at the time. Like if I were them, I'd probably be taking a swing at like Ivan Ryabkin or something like that at 36. Charlie Trethewey, another right-hand defenseman. I actually like this pick in the 3rd round. I had him going in like probably like the top like 70, top 60. He's just not really a point producer, more of like a defensive defenseman. 6'2". Their next pick, goalie Gabriel Daigle. This pick is super confusing to me. He was actually like a highly touted goalie prospect like 3 years ago, getting drafted to the Q. Like he trains with Fleury every summer. And like this kid looked unbelievable at 16 years old. And then he took the step to the QMJHL and like he's just been kind of awful numbers wise. Like he was on a bad team, don't get me wrong. Like he was like 16 and 33 last year, but like there was kind of a lot of stages in his development where like I wasn't even too sure if he was going to get drafted last year, but I think because of his size, he got picked, and like I just think a 3rd round pick on him is like kind of a mistake. You could have got him a lot later. Brady Peddle is actually one guy that I'm not too familiar with, so I'm not going to talk about him. Travis Hayes, he plays for Sioux in the OHL. He's kind of just like an undersized skill guy. Like he had 51 points last year. Kind of maybe it turns out, maybe it doesn't, but it's also kind of a mid-round pick. You don't really mind like taking the risk at that point. Ryan Miller, no, not the goalie. He's a forward prospect. He's kind of the same thing. He's kind of just like a skill guy, but he didn't really produce a ton last year. So that's kind of just like a risk you're taking. I like their next pick, Quinn Bochesney. He played for Guelph in the O. And I think he is this year too. He was like kind of one of their only like bright spots last year. Like they were absolutely terrible. And he only had 24 points last year, but like he was producing at like, I think 0.6 points per game the last like 30 games of the season. So he's actually like a pretty decent pick, like in the 5th round. Jordan Sharon, he came over from, I think, Air and the Gouge to like the Sioux after that rule change. He didn't really produce a ton. He's kind of just like a like mid-sized skilled guy that I think that they want to take a risk on. And, Dubas, like he just picked 2 more Sioux Greyhounds in this draft. Yeah. Carter Sanderson's a guy I'm not really too familiar with. And then Cale Dock, he played in the BCHL last year. I honestly thought he was going to go like a lot higher, but then I kind of realized that they don't really take into account the BCHL too much. But like, I don't know, man. Like he had 87 points in the BCHL. Like Bradley Nadeau had like, I think he had like 115 or something in his draft year. But I'm even saying like, even like, I think this is pretty similar production to like what Adar Suniev had in his draft year, right? And you guys took him in the 3rd round. Like they took him in the 7th round. So it's like, I kind of like this pick, to be honest, in the 7th round. Like I think this
class, dude.
Like, yeah, and he's playing and he's playing for Calgary in the WHL next year, and then he's playing for Penn State the year after. So I actually like that pick. It's just like I don't really like what Pittsburgh did in the 1st round, but I think they made like some pretty decent picks like throughout the rest of the draft. And obviously they kind of had a lot of like darts at the board, and we'll see how many these guys really turn out. But I still think they're just like, this draft didn't really convince me that they got like a lot of top quality prospects. And they had the chance to really do it.
Yeah, for me, Pittsburgh really went like a completely 360 route on that in this draft. Because, like, as you mentioned, for them, with the prospects that they do have in their pool, like, they do have some good prospects, but they don't have a lot of prospects, right? So for a team that's really starting to go through that rebuild now, I think what Kyle Dubas did was, like, looking at it was like, hey, this is a weaker draft class. Let's take quantity over quality. And then next year try to go out and get one of those top guys, right? So like I'm not saying it's the right strategy, but it is an interesting strategy because who knows, we might be looking at it where it's like 3 or 4 of these guys are NHL players 4 or 5 years down the road, and we're actually like, oh wow, that really did kickstart the rebuild for Pittsburgh. What are you going to give their draft grade though, Mark? Because I'm looking at it, despite what I said about the quantity over quality, I think in this case I would have taken the quality, especially within that 1st round. I'm gonna give them a C plus. If they did what they did for the rest of the draft, but kind of held on to their 2 first-round picks and went maybe the Eklund route, the Smith route, I think my draft grade would be a fair bit higher, but unfortunately they didn't do that, so I'll give them a C plus here. How about you?
Yeah, it's hard because you really got to take into consideration the beginning of the draft, despite like I saying that the rest of the draft is like pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with a C minus. Like I just have to take into consideration that they could have gotten more impact prospects in their system and had 2 picks in the 1st round instead of 3. I think it still just would have been more worth it in the 1st round at least.
Let's take a look at their roster now, because this is a roster that is built where it looks like they're going to be picking top 5 next year. They're going to be all in on the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. Where do you want to get started with this, Marky? Where do you want to get started?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that's basically just plucking some holes with guys, also knowing that they are probably going to be trading a couple guys away. Maybe soon, maybe not. Like, I don't really know. Like, it seems like he's got a pretty high price tag for at least like Carlson, Rust, and Raquel at this point, and no team has really budged on it. Yeah, it is kind of tough to really. The thing is, it's like I feel like Crosby's almost gonna like drag them out of like the basement, and I don't think they're gonna be like good by any means. But I probably would see them around like maybe like the 5 to 7 range, in accordance 5th to 7th last in the league. But it is also really gonna matter what they do with Rust and Raquel. Like it's like they're not really forced to make the move, right? Like with like it's not like they're going into the last year of their contracts or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But with Rust, he went from basically, I think he had a no move clause, and now he has, like, I think he can get traded anywhere. And with Raquel, I think he's got modified. Like Erik Karlsson's got a no move, but I think he'd be open to going to a place if it's the right situation. But I'm just not convinced like a move is happening that soon, because I think Dubas is just kind of like holding firm on like a price because there isn't a lot of sellers and he's willing to sell. And I can't really blame him for doing that, to be quite honest with you. But it's like they bring in Mantha like 1 year, like Brazeau, he's 2 years. They re-signed Tomasino for 1 year. Like, I don't mind that. Like, I don't really mind the moves that they made this offseason to fill holes. It's just kind of like they need to get some more assets if they can, regardless if it's young prospects or draft picks, especially going into a loaded draft next year. I'm kind of curious to see what they can end up getting for some of these guys. But yeah, like their defense is looking really rough to me. Malkin's going into the last year of his deal too. Like, I'm really curious, like, he's got a no move clause. He's going to basically pick where he's going to go. So it's like, what kind of return are you really going to be getting for that? Like a guy that's going to be picking his destination, knowing there's only going to be one team in the sweepstakes for him, right? Like they're not going to be paying a premium. Like, do you think there's a situation where Pittsburgh is going into next year's draft with like 2 more first round picks from
100%.
a trade, a couple 100%. Trades, or do you think out of Karlsson, Rust, and Raquel, okay, after the trade deadline, how many of the 3 are gone?
After the trade deadline, I'm going to say all 3 are gone.
Really?
And here's my reasoning for this. You, like, with what they did bring in the offseason, especially for the forward group, it's like Rutger McGroarty doesn't have the easiest path here to starting the year in the NHL next year, right?
Right.
I think one of these guys is going to get traded, and then McGroarty's going to take one of their spots. I think out of the 3, the one for me, Karlsson is the hardest one. I do think he will get moved as well, but for me, that's the one where it's like that one's probably going to take the most amount of time and maybe be like trade deadline next year. But I think the Russ and Raquel one, like, I'm not saying it's going to happen before the start of the season, but I could see it happening where maybe we're 2-3 weeks into the season, a month into the season, and we're kind of seeing a move then. I just think for Pittsburgh, it's like you got Rutger McGroarty knocking on the door. You kind of got Owen Pickering, who is getting close to NHL ready, might need a bit more time in the AHL, but he's going to be knocking on the door here at some point within the next year, I'd imagine, right? So it's like you have those 2 guys who are going to want to get opportunities. And then on Pittsburgh's side, it's like you're also in a position where, like, you're not going to be making the playoffs. It's pretty clear here that they want to go and get into this rebuild and really have good asset management. So I'm going to say, yeah, all 3 are going to get traded before the end of the year. Do you think all 3 are going to get traded as well, or how do you kind of think it plays out for those 3 players?
I kind of think that Rust might be the first one to go, just because he doesn't have like any trade protection, and I think that a team might be interested in him. Like, you know where I think Rust would be great, to be honest, and I think it could help them a lot, is Buffalo. Yeah, I know it wouldn't be ideal for them. I know it wouldn't be ideal for him, to be honest, but I think if I'm Buffalo and like I'd consider it, but it's like also if they want a first round pick, like, and you're not making the playoffs, like that might be a hard move to make. At the same time, maybe they will want to go to the road of like a prospect instead. Like they got a lot of young prospects, like Isaac Rosen or Noah Östlund, or maybe even like Costa Helenius is in that conversation. I don't really know. You know what I mean? But I kind of think Rust is going to be the first one to go, to be quite honest. I think Rust and Raquel are going to go before Carlson.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that Carlson might play out the year and then get moved next offseason.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it might just be a hard in-season move to make. I'm really wondering what amount of money they would be willing to retain. I just don't understand why. It's just like, if you're going to retain, like, what's the issue with retaining half? Like, I just don't really understand. Like, it's only for 2 years. Like, you need to hit we're talking about yesterday about like them trading for Carey Price's contract. Like, I just don't understand why you wouldn't retain if you'd be willing to do like a move like that.
Here's where I wonder is if it gets weird is if it's more of an ownership thing. Because apparently, like Fenway Sports owns the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, right? But apparently Fenway's looking to sell the Penguins. So maybe Fenway's looking at it and we're like, we don't want to have all this money that is going to have to be paid out once we're like no longer owning the team. Because then, of course, that's going to lower the team price a bit. But like, have you seen that at all, that Fenway is apparently trying to sell the team, and like apparently Mario's back in it, and like pretty it's pretty well known that he is interested in being part of the ownership group that buys back the Penguins. Like,
yeah, I've been reading a little bit about it. I've been seeing. I didn't really think about it in that aspect, but the thing is, does that just mean he's not going to get traded then? Like, or do you think it's just because like they're not willing to retain like an extra like $2 million? Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, yeah. I think they'd probably be willing to retain like $2.5 million right now, maybe $3 million. But it's just like, why don't you just do another $2 million then? Like, I don't. That's just where I'm coming from. I'm just like, it doesn't. And then you're just going to maximize the return. Like, to be honest with you, dude, like, if I'm a team who has like good surrounding like defensive parts, like, I would love Erik Karlsson at $5 million.
Yeah,
to just go out there and play. You know,
if you have the cap space, like, for sure, especially for maybe a like a younger team that's trying to kind of get into the playoffs.
But also, like, that's why, like you were saying about like them selling the team, like, that's also a huge reason why Crosby is not getting traded right now, dude. Like, you realize, like, I heard someone talking about, like, if Crosby got traded right now, like, it would literally like lower the value of the team by like literally like $85 million or something.
Which is insane to me. Like,
so it's like that's not a move that's going to be happening, like, very soon. I think, unless he super forced it out, which doesn't really seem like it's happening. So
here's my one quick question I want to ask you before we kind of give their offseason grade here is, if the team does get sold and it gets sold to an ownership group, including Lemieux, do you think Crosby would get any owner? Like, do you think Lemieux would try to work something out for Crosby where it's like, if you stay here for the rest of your career, we'll work out some sort of ownership deal?
Like, so are you asking if I think that like Mario would do that?
Yeah, like, could you see that scenario where maybe the team is going to get sold back to Lemieux and whoever else is in that group, but then they go to Sid and say, hey, like, if you stay here for the rest of your career and finish out your days in the NHL as a Pittsburgh Penguin, we'll give you 2% of the 2% ownership, 5% ownership, whatever it is, like a little bit of ownership of the team.
Like, I guess, like, I could see like maybe them doing it, but like, I don't really think like like that would like influence like his decision, I guess. Like, yeah. To be honest with you, like, I actually just don't think that he's gonna like ever get traded. Like, I think he's gonna finish in Pittsburgh. Like, I think that he just values more staying with the same team, and I think he just looks up to Mario so much that I think he probably just wants to kind of do what he did. But like, also at the same time, like, if you kind of think about it, like, say he does like say he hypothetically he got traded, right? Like, and he goes to like a really good team, like at the time, like say it is like a Colorado or something like that, like, and say he's there for like a year, maybe two, like. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you just like look back at his career and like say like they were like a first or second round exit, like in like he didn't win another cup or something, like we'd kind of just probably look at it and be like, man, he probably could have just should have stayed with Pittsburgh. Like I feel like some people would maybe think like that, right? And maybe he thinks like that too. Like I don't know. But like also like one thing I kind of thought about was like obviously he says in the way he like signed the contract is like, oh, okay, like 2 more years, like kind of thing. But like obviously like he hasn't like slowed down really like at all, right? Like, and like I'm not saying like if he kept playing he would be like the same impact, but it's like what if he just like truly believes in himself, like without like saying it publicly, that like I can play another like 5 or 6 years, and like I can literally be like a part of this entire rebuild and like get us back on track.
Which is
like I could be 42, 43 years old, like getting the team like back to the playoffs consistently and stuff. Like he could think like that, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
Which is more of a reason why right now you sell off the Russ, the Raquel, the Carlson, you get as much assets in young players or draft picks as you can back. Is like if that scenario does play out, like you're kind of speeding up the timeline of that, right? With getting more back now for in 2 or
And I
3
think
years
that's
if he
why
is sticking
Dubas has been
around.
super interested in like the young players. Like I know he's obviously interested in draft picks, as you can tell, but like he's also been interested in like acquiring young players because I think it's like the young players that are like closer to NHL ready. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to be making an impact faster, like during Sid's tenure, right? So,
Yeah.
I also think that's kind of a reason why they're going about it that way. And like, I don't know, with Sid, dude, you just got to kind of respect it. Like, it's like if he wants to stay, like I got no issue with it, dude. Like, it's kind of just like there's just still a huge risk if he got traded. And like the thing is too is like what like we obviously did like hypotheticals last year of like trades, but it's like I just feel like if you traded Sid, it's like you're just like never really gonna get like true value.
Oh no,
Like
never.
because at the same time, it's like, oh, you could do multiple firsts or like a couple first and like roster players and shit, but it's like a team that's giving up like or wanting to get Sid is not going to be giving you like a bunch of roster players like and shit, right? Like because like they're trying to
Yeah.
get better, like so it's like you're not going to really be getting like true value for him. Like I don't really know, like you know what I mean? Like it's so hard to gouge that.
And
Like
if you
it's
said,
like hypothetically if he went to like if he was like I want to go to Montreal, right?
oh, of course you
Like
choose Montreal, eh?
okay, but it's been a legit topic of conversation. You fuckhead. It's been a legit topic of
I know,
conversation,
I know,
okay?
I know.
Say he was like midway through the season, I want to go there, right? Like what would you like be comfortable with them giving up to where it's like we're not going to be like that like we're not subtracting like too much off of our roster.
I'd
Like
give
you know
like
what I mean?
I'd give like Patrick Laine a first and a prospect.
See, like for Pittsburgh, I would be like, fuck that. Like I'm keeping him.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to what Sid wants. If Sid if Sid says I'm going to Montreal, and if they trade me for a bag of chips, like if you're Pittsburgh, I think you kind of have to do that, man. Like he's done so much for
Yeah.
the city, for the team that like the team wouldn't
Well,
be
what I'm
around
saying, it's like
anymore
I feel
without
like
him.
I'd just be fine with him staying, like, and not
You,
wanting to be traded and just like keeps re-signing. Like it's not nothing's
yeah,
worth it. Even if he goes to Colorado, Colorado doesn't have any fucking. They barely have any picks or prospects to give. Like you
I
know what I mean? Like it's like it doesn't really make much sense. Like anywhere he goes, like a lot of teams that are contending like don't really have this. Even if he was like trade me to Florida, like what the hell is Florida giving that Pittsburgh's like yes,
Evan
give me this right
Rodriguez,
now.
like not
Yeah, and like
much.
that doesn't help their long term. Like we could go around the entire NHL. Like I wasn't
Yeah,
just trying to single out Montreal, but like he was a fan of them growing up, and like I could only dream. But like I also wouldn't really want the pressure of him coming and being like, fuck me, we have to get this guy a cup or it's a failure. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there'd be a ton of pressure on the team to win like instantly, right?
Mark, I wanna ask you now, what are you gonna give their overall offseason grade?
Draft kind of sucked, but the offseason, I felt like they did a pretty good job filling holes. Um, Obviously, they haven't traded their guys yet. Like, are you taking that into consideration? Like, or are
Yep.
you like with Raquel and Rust? Like maybe they should have.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'll probably just go with like a B minus then. Like
I
I,
was
I
gonna
like the way they filled holes. Like I like bringing in Dumba for a year for a second round pick. Like the Brazeau Mantha signing. Like giving Koivunen a shot this year probably. Like Tomasino. Like I don't really mind what they did.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna give them a B minus. Their asset management, I like what they've done here and filling the holes as you mentioned, but for me the draft it's just wasn't my favorite approach the way they went. Let's take a look at one of the busiest teams now throughout the regular season with trades. It's the Colorado Avalanche. So far in the offseason, it's been a bit more quiet for them. Looking at their lineup, honestly, not a whole lot of turnover here, Mark. How do you feel about their lineup going into this season? For me, I'm looking at it, keeping Brock Nelson. I love that, right? Like ever since they won the cup, they had really been lacking a 2C after losing Kadri. And when they went out and they got Nelson, like they really have kind of found that 2C centerman to play behind McKinnon for the first time since winning that Stanley Cup. I love that they're keeping him around. But yeah, not too much turnover here. A lot of similar faces here within the team. How do you like this team?
Yeah, I mean, like they didn't do a whole lot, but I mean they lost Drew and they lost Coyle in Miles Wood in that trade they made.
Yeah,
But now you're getting Landeskog fully healthy. They signed Victor Olofsson kind of midway through that offseason. I kind of feel like that's a sneaky ad for the power play, and to get some depth scoring for them. Um, that Charlie Coyle move was mostly just to like free up cap space. Like, do you like the Brock Nelson contract though? Like, I do agree. Like, probably to keep him, it's like I think they maybe overpaid like a little bit considering like he wasn't that great in Colorado, but I'm also trying to take into consideration like he's been an Islander his whole career. Like it was a huge. I was listening to um, I think it was Cal Clutterbuck. He was on Chicklets and he was saying that like Nelson was like super shocked and like he was kind of starstruck even a couple days before he was traded just because he was not used to it. So I'm kind of trying to take that into consideration too. And maybe hopefully he can rebound. But I look at this team, like I really like their top six. I think that they're top six heavy, but it is looking pretty good. Then you get down to the bottom six, like Colton, Drury, Olofsson. I feel like they could probably provide some depth scoring. And then their fourth line isn't really great to me. It's more definitely defensive, which can help out, but it's not really like super physical by any means.
yeah.
Then on defense, like basically they bring in Brett Burns this offseason. I mean, I don't mind the ad. I think that Brett Burns has been asked to play a lot in Carolina. But I think he also had wanted it at the same time, and I feel like maybe a secondary role for him could make him a bit better. And they have a good right side, dude. Like Makar, Burns, and Josh Manson. Like I really like that right side. And then like you got like Blackwood's contract kicking in this year. They obviously re-signed him after they traded for him. I think he's going to have a big year, to be quite honest. Like I like this team a lot. Like I'm not necessarily convinced that this would be the roster that they're going into the playoffs with. I think they might have to make a couple moves again, maybe for like a number 6 defenseman on the left side and like maybe to get a little bit more physical down the lineup. And it really depends how like that third and fourth line produces. But I would expect their top 2 lines to produce quite a bit. But like the one thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, Um, and you can say your opinion on the roster too, like how what kind of while you're answering the question is like what do you think is gonna happen with Natchez? Like obviously last year, like now we're going in the same situation that they were with Rantanen. It's like he's going to last. This is what I was talking about a lot with the
Yeah,
trade last year. I was just like, you're just prolonging the situation by 1 year for a player that isn't at Rantanen's caliber. He's still a very good player, but it's not the same. He's not a superstar, right? Like I heard in the summer that apparently you could have put a $10 million AAV in front of Natchez in the offseason to re-sign, and he wouldn't have signed it. So I just don't really see. I think that he's going to get traded in the middle of the season.
you
That
think
that
so?
is my I think that it's going to be the same thing as Rantanen, and he's going to want too much money, and they're not going to come to a contract, and they're going to make a huge ballsy move again.
I could see that for sure, especially if he's having a good season where it's like he is going to be demanding over 10, because then at that point, like, you can maybe, like, you might really not want to pay him at that point, and you will be able to trade him and do something. Like, to be honest, if I was Colorado, like, I think Colorado just kind of, like, I didn't really have much of an issue with them trading Randon. It was just like what the return was. It was very lackluster. It was like you trade them and you get what they got back, and then literally like a month and a half later, Carolina's trading them and they're getting like a way better package back. Like if Colorado got back in the trade for Randon what Carolina got back, I'd be sitting here and be like, man, like I think Colorado made out pretty good, right? But they didn't really, because now we'd be talking about it. We'd be talking about McKinnon playing with Stanko and like, oh wow, like that's a duo that could like pop off. And then we
Well,
also
they
be
got
talking
two
about,
first round picks and
yeah,
two
the
third
fucking,
round picks.
yeah, all the picks and assets they would have to add to their team. Like they could have brought in maybe a Ryan Ruster or something, right? Like they would have had the assets for that. I'm not saying it would have been a great fit or anything like that, but they would have had that flexibility to be able to go out and get more players for trades. It's just what they did and what they got back for Randon at the time was pretty lackluster.
And it's like Carolina goes out and uses one of those first to like, regardless if you think it's a good trade or not, but they take a bet on K. Andre Miller. Like,
Yeah,
so it's like Logan Stankoven and K. Andre Miller. And to be honest with you, I'm not convinced even with that other first that they're going to be making a pick with it. I think it's going to be using a trade probably to get someone else down the road, maybe even a second line center. So it just kind of keeps adding on for like what Carolina can do for value for him. And it's like, to be honest with you, like, Jack Drury was a high second round pick who had a lot of hope, but like he put up 18 points last year, dude. Like it's like
it's
he's a
kind of just
fourth line center right
yeah.
now. Like it's like he shouldn't be the main part of a trade here for and I understand they ended up getting Charlie Coyle too with that second round pick, but it's like he's there for 18 games, he's gone now. Like I don't know. They didn't get great value in that trade. Maybe with Natchez, they can make like a 1-for-1 trade for maybe another team that's in the same situation or something like that. But um, I'm just not very optimistic that he's going to re-sign there. And I think that there's a good chance that they make, like, I would say right now, if I had to bet, I'd say there's like a 75% chance I think he's traded in the middle of the season.
Yeah. I'm kind of on board with that, to be honest.
But like I like their team overall, dude. Like regardless if like Nate just plays out the year, he doesn't. Like obviously if they traded him, it would depend on the return. But I still really like their top six. Like their D are still looking pretty good. I know they've been like really interested in moving on from Sam Girard and like trying to find a replacement. There hasn't really been a lot of like interest in him at $5 million, to be honest. So I wonder if maybe they try to like upgrade and get even like a second pairing defenseman and knock him down to the third pair. I'd say they probably are like a cup contender, but like I wouldn't like bet on them winning the cup right now. I think they definitely probably could make a move or two throughout the year, but I would say right now, if things go right for them, they get depth scoring, their top six is good, their D is good, Blackwood plays solid, like they'll probably fight for the top of the division. And
Yeah.
I would say right now I'd put them in second in the Central.
I'm all with you on that. Let's take a look at their draft now. Honestly, not much here to talk about. A third, a fourth, and a seventh round pick. I really don't know much about any of these players. How did you feel about their draft though?
Yeah, obviously, like they've been using a ton of picks to like acquire like immediate help recently. Like with the first pick in the third round, this past year, they took a double overage defenseman who played
I
at
say,
UMass last year.
was I reading that correct?
Yeah, Francesco Del Elche. He had 24 points in 40 games last year as a defenseman. It was his first year playing in the NCAA. He was playing in the BCHL before. He's kind of like a very mobile shot first offensive defenseman. Honestly, I think that's a pretty good year, even for like a 20-year-old. So I guess they kind of thought that was worth the risk in the third round for a double overager. But I wonder with some of these teams, like I kind of noticed that a lot of like teams that are like good now take more overagers, and I think they kind of think he'll be ready faster to potentially step in the NHL. So
Yeah.
that maybe that's worth more value to them. I actually don't mind this pick after like looking into him a little bit. Like this is pretty decent. I think that he can continue to develop quite well. Linus Funk, he played in Sweden last year. He's like a big defenseman. He's actually playing for London this year in the OHL. So I think he's going to have a pretty big role. Like Henry Brusevich, we'll talk about with LA, like is probably going to play a lot of minutes and replace like Oliver Bonk, and like probably Linus Funk might even be play as many or more minutes as Brusevich does. Like he's a big 6'3" two-way defenseman. So I'm expecting to kind of watch and hear a lot about him this offseason. I think it's a pretty good pick in the fourth round, and he's going to a really good development spot, right, as well. So I think that it could be a sneaky good pick for them. Excuse me. And Noah Reed, who they took in the seventh round, is an overaged, like undersized forward, but he put up 60 points in 61 games at Tri-City in the USHL last year. And the USHL is like really not a high scoring league at all. So I feel like even for like, if he was drafted in his draft year, that's like a really good D+1 year. So taking that like shot at the board in the seventh round, like I don't really mind it at all. So I actually like what Colorado did with the three picks they had, like at the spots that they had them.
So what are you going to give their draft grade? And then after, what are you going to give their overall offseason grade?
Their draft grade, just because they didn't really get top end talent, like I'd give them like a B+. I think it was like really solid, like what they did at their picks. And then the offseason, like honestly, being a cap team and even getting out of like Miles Wood's contract for like, and even getting a prospect and a pick back, I think is pretty good. Obviously, they lost Charlie Coyle, which sucks a bit, but like they're trying to free up some cap space. They lose Drouin. They bring in Burns with the draft. Honestly, I'd probably give them like an A-. I think they did a pretty good job, like with what they could. Like it's different now having to deal with Landeskog's $7 million. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it forced you like basically not to re-sign Drouin at that point. Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna like do anything with the Natchez thing yet. Like it's not like they have to sign him yet. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna consider that as like part of their off season. But they also like they re-signed Manson for 2 years after this year for almost $4 million. Parker Kelly for 4 more years. I think they had a pretty decent offseason, to be honest. But like I think they just are limited right now with because they just don't have like much cap space, and I like just think that they're going to be making like moves throughout the season again.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to give them a B+ and a B+. I think you nailed it on the head there. I like what they brought in, but just with them being a captain, of course, just a bit of limits to what they can do. Let's go and take a look at another team now with who didn't have too much turnover. It's the LA Kings. They only had a few signings this offseason. Corey Perry, he's going to be playing till he's 45 for them now. Mark,
you don't think they had much turnover? I think they probably had like more turnover than like 3/4 of the league.
I guess when I was looking at it, I'm more thinking within their forward group.
Well, they changed two forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie.
See, I guess it is a fair bit of turnover.
Well, considering it's this offseason when there wasn't much turnover, I'd say it's a pretty decent amount of turnover.
I was just thinking back to like other years and other teams. I think part of the other reason too why I kind of don't have it in the top of my head that it's a lot of turnovers because a lot of the players coming in aren't like top of the line players. It's more second second or third pairing defenseman or like a fourth liner, right? With Corey Perry, where it's like out of their core at least it's mostly the same. Looking at their lineup though, how do you kind of feel about the moves that they did make?
Dude, I don't really like their offseason much at all. Like I'm pretty confused at what Ken Holland's doing.
Yep.
Um, they got older considering they're already decently old. Um, and I just think that they're not as good. Like I think that the moves that they made are are do not help them get by Edmonton in the first round. And I think they probably are good enough to be a playoff team, but I don't know, man. I feel like there could be a situation where if Anaheim or Vancouver does have a good year and can squeak into that third spot, if that Central Division has five teams making the playoffs, it would like I wouldn't be like that shocked if LA missed. I don't think they're going to, but it's like I just kind of wonder if there is a situation where that comes because it's like, okay, I look at their defense, right? Like, I'll be honest with you, like I don't understand that Jordan Spence trade like at all. Like
Yeah.
he's traded for a third round pick to Ottawa. I think that's probably one of the like sneaky good pickups of the offseason for Ottawa, considering like even Nick Jensen's going to be hurt to start the year. You're replacing him with Cody Ceci on a 4-year deal at 4.5.
I think that might
Um,
be the worst contract of the offseason.
yeah, like that or Tanner Janot. It's really close to be quite honest with you. Um, you bring in Brian Dumoulin, 3 years, $4 million. I'm not as down on Brian Dumoulin. I probably wouldn't have given him $4 million, but I mean, it's just not really spending money in a great way. If you ask me, like you're already giving Edmondson almost $4 million, and now you're giving all these guys like a combination of like $13 million. It's just kind of confusing when you already have an older guy in Doughty. And it's like you're giving CC this much money. Is he playing the third pair or is he playing the second pair? And you're just still going to limit Brandt Clark from developing. Like that's a
Yeah.
question I have too, right? Like I'd kind of give him the reins this year and get him to run with it, Brandt Clark, if you can, run in the power play and everything. So those moves on the back end kind of confuse me. Bringing in Anton Forsberg as a backup goalie, I don't mind that at all. I think he's a pretty solid backup goalie. That's not a bad contract for a guy that's probably going to play maybe 30 games, maybe less, depending how Kemper does this year. And to be honest, the two moves up front, like I'm really familiar, obviously, with Yoel Armia. I think he's going to come in, really help their penalty kill, give them some depth scoring, potentially. I don't mind that for $2.5 million. And then Corey Perry. A lot of people don't like this move, considering he's got like bonuses that would get his cap up to like 3.5, and they think that's kind of outrageous. It's like, are we going to get the same Corey Perry as last year or no? Like I don't really know, right? So like it could be a good move, sneaky, but it might not be at the same time. But they still just kind of lack top end talent to me. Like I really like
Yeah.
Kempe, but I mean he's been kind of streaky, producing points at times, but he's been a consistent basically 30, 35 plus goal scorer the past couple of years. Pretty underrated player too, to be honest. But like Kopitar is potentially going into his last year. Like, are they going to give Quentin Byfield a little bit more of the reins this year? Potentially put him up on the first line? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you feel about this team overall? Because they still have like some pretty good depth. Like they re-signed Kuzmenko, who is good there. Like Trevor Moore is a decent depth piece, but they had a lot of cap space this offseason, and like I just don't think they like really handled it well at all. And like they probably should have traded their first round pick to get an impact player.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. And like with what you said about they don't have a lot of top end talent. Like I think that really is their biggest lack here. As you mentioned, like I like Kempe as well, but he has 1 year left on his deal. Like he's gonna be getting a big pay upgrade here. Or like maybe even he'll tell LA he doesn't really want to sign with them, and they have to trade him
Yeah,
depending on
that's
how the
actually one of the guys
season
I'm
goes,
super
right?
interested this offseason.
Yeah,
Like I'm very interested to see if he wants to stay there or not.
it's just like they don't have a lot of top end talent, and then some of the top end talent that they are supposed to have or were supposed to have with drafting young players, they just haven't really been giving opportunity to, right? It's like Brant Clark, as you mentioned, it's like man, they like I personally think the LA Kings have fucked his development. Like I don't understand what they have done with him. They left him in juniors too long. They left him in the AHL too long, I think. And then like Alex Turcotte, yeah, like LA kind of didn't really do the best developing him so far, but there's also a lot of injury stuff with him. But it's like, what is he going to be this year? Is he going to get a true shot in the NHL? Because you would have to think he would, right? For for me, I'm just looking at it that LA, they don't have a lot of top end talent. They kind of had money, as you said, and then for me, that Cody Ceci contract, I'm handing it out as the worst contract of the offseason. The fact that Cody Ceci is your second highest paid defenseman is fucking insane, dude. For 4 years too. Like it's not a 1 year deal. Like Cody Ceci for the past 2 or 3 seasons has been kind of going place to place signing 1 or 2 year deals, right? What did you see with his game in the past 2 years if you're Ken Holland where you're like we need to give him a 4 year deal? I guess it was probably his time with the Oilers, right?
You know what I honestly think Ken Holland probably thinks is he looks at the last 2 years and he says he went to the Stanley Cup Finals and then he went to the Conference Finals,
Yeah,
and that's what we need. I,
probably.
that's probably that. I don't know what other logical explanation um, they have to give him that much money. Um, with Brant Clark, like I look at him and it's like he had 33 points in 78 games last year. Only 9 of them were on the power play while he's playing 16, 17 a night. Like he's not getting much ice time at all.
And when you're
It's like Doughty comes back, plays 30 games. He's playing over 24 minutes a night. Like you can't allocate some of that to Brant Clark. Like I don't really understand. It's like it's even like some of the other young guys. Like I will say like Byfield's ice time went up a lot last year, but like I look at like Alex Laferriere, like 19 goals last year. Like he's playing 16 minutes a night. Like why isn't he getting his ice time bumped a little bit? Like I just don't really understand. I don't really like Jim Hiller that much, to be honest, as a coach.
yeah.
I think they should have made that move last offseason because I think a couple of moves he literally made in that series, like help cost them games, right? So I just don't think LA is better, and they're not necessarily going in the right direction. And there's kind of like it's kind of a huge year for them with Kopitar literally might be done. Like, is Kempe leaving? Like, Doughty's got 2 years left on his deal. I don't. What's going to happen with Brant Clark? Is he going to have a huge year and get a big contract? Like, what's happening with that? Like, there's a lot of questions, dude. And I think they should have
Yeah.
traded for immediate help. They don't necessarily have a lot of great prospects. I actually think their prospects are like heavy into goaltending. They've got a couple guys, but like, and it's also like with Liam Greentree as well. But I probably would have used that first to kind of trade for someone.
Yeah, when you mentioned the first, let's take a look at their draft now. Mark, looking at their draft, I know you're probably gonna say you wish some of these picks got traded because I'm looking at it right now. It looks like they had nearly 10 picks, which
Yeah, they
is
had an abundance of
yeah,
firsts
it's
this
like
year, man.
you had a fair bit of picks here. You had two in the fourth, two in the seventh. First, you had your first, second, and third, right? So they definitely could have afforded to trade some picks and get some assets back. Looking at the picks they did make, though, how do you kind of feel about their picks?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like they originally had a higher pick, right? Like they didn't end up selecting until 31, but they traded back once, maybe twice, if I'm not mistaken. I know their goal was to get Mason West, the guy that Chicago ended up getting, but they ended up obviously not ending up with him. They draft a right-handed defenseman, which I didn't necessarily understand. I don't mind Henry Brusevich at all, but like I don't really think LA is a great fit. With them having Brant Clark, Cody Ceci now. Apparently they signed a week later. Doughty will obviously be gone pretty soon, but I don't necessarily love this pick for LA after trading back. And with the draft being in LA, apparently a lot of fans were just like, it kind of like deflated the building a little bit with them just like trading back once or twice in the first round. So overall, don't love that pick. The next guy, Wojtek Sihar, he played in like the Czech Extra Liga this past year. I honestly thought he was going to go a little bit higher considering like Eduard Saleh in his draft year, like didn't put up a lot of points in the Czech Extra Liga. Like he only had like 14 points and like Sihar had 9. And Eduard Saleh was a first round pick. So I know Sihar like went in the second round, but I mean, he kind of went late second round. So I think it actually could be like a pretty decent pick for LA being like a middle of the lineup type guy. Christian Epperson, he played in Saginaw last year. With like Peric and Misa. He like made huge like strides in his game. Like he wasn't really that good in his draft year. And then he put up like 80 points in 58 games last year. And apparently like his whole game just kind of like rounded out. And people were even saying they thought he could be like a second round pick maybe. And if he was like an 07 or like a late 06, he could have potentially been like a first round pick. Like his development's been going that well. So I don't know. I guess it's a pretty good pick for LA, like in the third round. But I'm still not keen on taking overagers that early, to be quite honest with you. I don't really know much about their next pick, Caden Harrington. Jimmy Lombardi played for Flint last year in the OHL. He's kind of just more of like a depth point producer. I think he's staying in Flint and then going to Michigan in the year after. I love their next pick, Petteri Rimpinen. He was the Finland World Junior goalie last year. I don't know if you remember how good he was for them.
Yeah.
And they went all the way to the finals and lost to USA. He's an overager, but dude, he played in Liga last year. He played 40 games and he had a 9.12. And I don't know if you look at his record, 16 wins, 9 losses, and 14 overtime losses. Pretty crazy record. I would even say, like, if he was actually drafted in his draft year, like, this is really solid, like, development strides anyway, like, being a starter on, like, a Liga team at 19 years old. He's a little bit undersized at 6 foot, but, like, I don't know if you remember last year, like, much in the World Juniors, but, like, he was helping them. He was carrying them for, like, a little bit of that tournament, right? So I actually love this pick, this risk in the 5th round, to be quite honest. Jan Chauvin, he played in Slovakia, and then he moved over to like Finland last year. He played for Tapara's U20 team, even as like a 17-year-old. Like he was only like half a point per game, but he was decent. He's playing for Sudbury in the O this year. He was an import pick, so kind of curious to like see his development. I don't really know anything about their next pick, Brendan McMorrow, but Will Sharp, I felt like this was a pretty decent pick in the 7th round. Like he had like over 40 points last year in like 67 games. Like, and like he is in 07 born. So I don't know. There could be some offensive upside here. That was the pick where I don't know if you remember the fan went on the stage and like announced the player. Yeah, that was Will Sharp, the guy that he announced. So I don't know. In the 7th round, I honestly thought Will Sharp was going to be like a middle of the draft guy. So I guess I wouldn't like complain with them taking him in the 7th round.
Yeah, 44 points in 66 games as a defenseman in your draft year is pretty decent for 7th round.
Yeah, like it's not even I'm saying like he's gonna make it or anything, but it's like sometimes you're taking like defensive guys who barely produce, but like yeah, he had pretty good numbers. But like I wonder if he's like 6'2", if he's like a 5th round or a 4th round pick, to be honest.
Overall, what are you going to give their draft grade?
Like I did, obviously, like I said, I didn't really love the whole beginning of the draft thing, but I mean, I don't really think even where they were at like 21 or 22, they were going to get like a huge impact player anyway. Like I feel like most of them are probably off the board. So it's like I'm not going to really like knock them that much with that. I don't really mind the rest of their draft overall. I'll probably give them like a B plus.
Yeah, for me, looking at it, I think I'll give them a B plus as well. I really do like the Brustevich pick, getting him at 31. I think given his opportunity next year in London, this could be a player that does have a big draft plus 1 year. Because last year in London, like he was kind of playing on their second line, not getting power play time. Where this year he'll be first defensive pairing. He'll probably be running the power play. So I like that pick. The Rempinen pick, as you said, I think taking a gamble on him in the fifth round is a pretty good pick. And
I
overall,
like
I
the
think,
Seahar pick a lot, dude. Like I said, compare. Remember, like Edouard Saleh was talked about so
yeah,
much in his draft year. Like he only had 14 points in his draft year in that extra liga. Like Seahar played the whole season. He had 9. Like I don't know. Like I feel like that's pretty good value. Like at the end of the second round. Like I thought he was going to be a top 40 pick.
yeah, I think overall they have a decent amount of their picks are pretty good value picks. Like they didn't really take any head scratchers with their picks. It was more just the way they use their picks, not trading them and actually making the picks and trading back and so on. Mark, now I want to ask you, what are you going to give their overall offseason grade?
Um, Probably like a D.
See, I was going to give them a C.
Like their straight off season's an F. But like I think that with the draft, like, it wasn't bad at all. So I think I'd give him a D.
Yeah, I'm going to change mine to give them a C minus. You talked me into it. The give them an F for the offseason.
Well,
I
because
was
we look, so many people are looking at it being like LA's had a terrible, like one of the worst off seasons in the NHL. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that deserves an F, dude. Like, they didn't do shit to make them better, like at all.
See, I will say they didn't do anything to make them better, but I also wouldn't say they did a whole lot to make them a whole lot worse. Like
But they did set themselves up financially worse for the
that way,
future,
that way.
which I consider is part of it. But like, I don't know, dude. Jordan Spence is a pretty good everyday NHL defenseman, at least in the
Yeah.
regular season. I know they don't like playing him in the playoffs, but it's like I look at it as, and to be honest, like Spence to CC is a huge downgrade to me.
Yep.
And I understand there might not really be. See, the problem is having Doughty has really messed up their whole right side because it's like for the future, I feel like you'd be fine with Clark and Spence, but it's just that how long Doughty's deal is. Like it's just Spence is ready for like a top 4 role now, like right, and so is
Yeah. So
Clark.
it's
So it's
Clark.
like you can't put Doughty on the third pair, and you wouldn't really want to anyway, right? So that's kind of screwed it up a little bit, to be quite honest with you. And it's like I just think half of their decor is on like stupid $4 million contracts with term, and it's like they've got a lot of work to do this offseason with like I was gonna ask you like what do you think Kempe gets? Like, do you think he's a double digit? Like, do you think there's a possibility where he's making $10 million?
I want to look at his
73 points last year, 35 goals, led the team.
He's a UFA. Gonna be
He's coming
29.
off a gamble of a deal.
Yeah, he's gonna be on 29. He's gonna be a UFA. Like it's also history too. Like it's been back to back 70-point seasons and then 67 the year before. It's like if he has over 70 points this year, I could see him getting $10 million.
See, the thing is, it's like I think he's probably going to score 35 goals again, too.
Yeah, like based off the fact that when you look at this year's free agents, the top ones got like Brock Nelson, who is I guess he is a centerman, but considering he is 33 years old and he's still got nearly $8 million a year, like I think if Adrian Kempe is putting up 75 plus points, he has an argument to be asking for $10 million, especially considering he's a UFA. Like I think a lot of teams with the cap going up and the fact that teams will have cap space will be like knocking at his door.
To be honest with you, too, I know they've been eliminated in the playoffs in the first round, but he's actually been like a good playoff performer too for them.
Like let me ask you,
he's a player.
Like we talk about the cap going up and how even a lot of these teams now are not even going to be close to the cap ceiling. It's like a team like San Jose, dude. Like if San Jose takes big steps with their young pieces next year, like if you were San Jose, would you give this guy $10 million in free agency to bring him in and kind of be a leader and even help them take another step in their rebuild? I would without thinking twice, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it'd be a huge kick in the dick to LA if you went to San Jose. But, I mean, yeah, I'd be super interested in bringing a guy like that in. I think he could definitely make a difference. And he's got a ton of experience as well at the same time. They're going to have a buttload of cap space. So that, like, even if he was like interested in like going to Chicago or something like that too. Yeah. Like I'd be really interested in bringing him in. Like I feel like I wouldn't have an issue giving him 10. I don't know how much more I'd want to really give him than 10 unless he has like a huge year. But I'm really going to keep an eye on him this year, dude. Like I think that he could be a guy that like it could even be a career year for him this year, and he gets a huge payday.
Yeah, I'm all with you on that, dude. I think I always love watching him, but watching him this year should be even more fun. Overall, though, that's going to wrap up today's episode. I know this week we've done 2 episodes. We've kind of just been doing that to get on track as we took a little bit of a summer break. So we're going to be all on track now. We'll be releasing another Deep Dives episode next week, and then after that we'll have 2 more episodes. We have to do the Deep Dives. But for everybody tuning in today, thanks for tuning in.